All right, so get this. Today, we are diving deep into fame. Yep, fame. We're going to be looking at who are considered the most famous people in the world, like way back in 2023. We're using research from GK schools. And, at first I thought fame, pretty simple, right? But as we started going through this stuff, man, it's way more complicated than I realized.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that fame isn't just like knowing someone's name. It's like this whole mix of stuff, what they've done, how much influence they have, how much money they've got, and even sometimes, scandals.
Yeah.
And the way we try to measure it, well, that keeps changing too. GK Schools actually talks about that right away, which I think is pretty cool. Sets the stage for a good discussion.
Yeah, totally. So they put together this list, the top 20 most famous persons in the world 2023. And just looking at the top 10, it's wild. There's athletes, entertainers, even a politician in there. It's all over the place. But here's what caught my eye. Cristiano Ronaldo is number one, even ahead of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What do you think puts Ronaldo on top? Is it purely because he's amazing on the field, or is there more to it?
It really makes you think, right? Because The Rock, he's gone from wrestling to Hollywood. He's this huge star.
Yeah.
But Ronaldo, his appeal seems to go beyond just like one country or culture. Everyone gets soccer.
Yeah.
His skills are kind of universal. Plus, he's known for doing a lot of charity work, which adds another layer to his fame, I think.
Exactly. He's not just famous for being great at what he does. He's also using his fame to, make a difference in the world.
Okay, so GK Schools also did these in-depth profiles on some of these famous people. To get a broader picture, let's look at a few who aren't in the top 10. Let's start with Elon Musk. He's the richest guy in the world, according to GK Schools, worth, get this, $239.6 billion. That's insane. But he's not number one in fame. Why do you think that is?
That's where things get really tricky. Musk is he's kind of a controversial figure. He's done some amazing things with Tesla, SpaceX, even shaking things up with Twitter. But just having a ton of money doesn't mean everyone's going to love you. Some people see him as this genius who's pushing boundaries, while others think he's reckless, maybe even irresponsible. It's a weird mix.
It's almost like he represents both the good and the bad sides of fame. He was even Times Person of the Year in 2021, which shows he had a huge impact on the world. But some people might say that being Times Person of the Year is more about being notorious, not necessarily being famous in a good way, right? Yeah, that's a good point. And Musk's whole journey is anything but normal. From South Africa to Canada, he got multiple degrees, then dropped out of Stanford to start Zip2. It's a story about ambition, taking risks, and honestly, some luck too. And that unpredictable side of him definitely keeps people talking about him, whether they like him or not.
Yeah, he's a total risk taker, and people are just drawn to that, whether they think he's awesome or crazy. Okay, speaking of unusual paths to success, let's look at Jeff Bezos. He's the second richest on this list, and he built his fortune with Amazon. But now he seems super focused on space travel. It's almost like, been there, done that with online shopping, time to conquer space.
It really is. It's like he went from being a business giant to this, modern-day explorer. And remember, he was the second billionaire to go to space. That definitely got everyone's attention. Makes you wonder, is going beyond Earth, pushing those boundaries, is that the new way to become famous?
Whoa, it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's actually happening. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about people known for specific talents, like Neymar. GK Schools points him out as this globally recognized, world-famous Brazilian soccer player. He's the second highest goal scorer for Brazil after the legend Pelé, which is saying something. But what I found really interesting was his insane social media following. I mean, is that how we measure fame now in the 21st century, just by how many followers you have online?
It's true. Social media has completely changed how fame works. Neymar, his online presence isn't just about showing off. It actually boosts his success on the field. He can connect with fans all over the world directly, build a personal brand that's bigger than just soccer.
It's like he's turned himself into this global icon, both on and off the field. All right, let's go from the soccer field to Hollywood. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, that's a fascinating story. He went from pro wrestler to one of the highest paid actors in the world. Talk about a career change. Is that the ultimate American success story or what?
It's definitely a story that grabs you. And with his estimated net worth of $320 million, it seems like wealth and fame go hand in hand in his case. What I find interesting is even in high school, he was this amazing football player. Colleges were already looking at him. It's like he was always meant for success in some way.
It's like those kids in school who are just good at everything and everyone knows they're going to be somebody. Okay, let's move on to someone who's famous for a totally different reason. Joe Biden. Now, he's not just famous. He was the most Googled person in 2021. Why do you think that is? Is it purely because he's the president of the United States, or is there something more going on?
Well, yeah, being president puts him in the spotlight globally, of course. But I think those high Google searches also show how intense things were politically back then. People were like craving information, and he was at the center of it all. Plus, remember all the celebrities who endorsed him during the 2020 election? Even Taylor Swift. That mixing of entertainment and politics, that's a big part of how fame works these days.
Yeah, it's like politics has become part of the entertainment industry now, whether we like it or not. Okay, let's talk about another billionaire, Bill Gates. Everyone knows he co-founded Microsoft, but these days it feels like he's known for something completely different.
Yeah, Gates has made this really interesting shift from tech giant to philanthropist. His main focus now is on tackling global problems through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which raises the question, does using your money to really make a difference, does that create a different kind of fame? One based on respect, on people admiring you for doing good with your fortune.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to leave a mark on the world that goes beyond just, building a successful company. Okay, let's go from philanthropy to Hollywood comebacks. Robert Downey Jr. is a perfect example of someone who struggled with addiction but then became one of the highest paid actors. What do you think it is about his story that people connect with so strongly?
His journey is like this classic comeback story. People find it inspiring and relatable. He had success early on with SNL, then hit rock bottom, and then boom, this incredible comeback. Does overcoming those really tough times, especially publicly, make someone more human, more interesting to the public?
It's like we love stories about resilience, about people who fall down and then get back up even stronger. Okay, remember Ronaldo, our #1 most famous person? Well, he's also known for his philanthropy, just like Bill Gates. He's broken tons of records, won so many awards, but he also gives back. Is that the peak of athletic fame? Being the best at your sport and using your influence for good?
It's definitely a powerful combo. And remember that image of the Real Madrid fans going crazy celebrating Ronaldo's achievements at Santiago Bernabeu Stadium. That just shows how massive and devoted his fan base is. That level of love, that huge outpouring of admiration, that's a core part of fame.
Yeah, it's like watching a legend being born, right in front of them. Okay, now let's talk about another legendary soccer player, Lionel Messi. Most people consider him one of the best, if not the best, in the world. But what's interesting is how incredibly successful he is financially. He's only the second player in history to earn over $1 billion in his career. Is that a new measure of success in sports?
It shows how things are changing with athlete branding and endorsements. Messi's talent has made him unbelievably successful financially, putting him in a league of his own. And he was included in Time's 100 Most Influential People twice, back in 2011 and 2012, showing that his impact goes way beyond soccer.
He's become a global icon, representing more than just being a great athlete. All right, let's go back to politics for a second, talk about Donald Trump. Now, he's the 45th U.S. president, but before that, he was a businessman and a TV personality. Do you think that kind of fame, the fame he already had, helped or hurt his political success?
It's tough to say. It's a bit of both, I think. Being a celebrity definitely gave him name recognition right away, and he could reach a huge audience. But it also came with some baggage. People already had opinions about him, and some might have seen him as just an entertainer, not a serious politician.
Yeah, he's like this mix of entertainment, business, and politics, all in one really polarizing package. Okay, let's talk about someone who's literally changed how we experience fame. Mark Zuckerberg. He co-founded Facebook, which practically invented modern social media. What I think is fascinating is that he recently rebranded Facebook to focus on the metaverse. Do you think he's trying to shape the future of fame?
His vision for the metaverse is definitely ambitious, and it makes us think about how we'll interact, connect, and even define fame in these virtual worlds. And even with all the controversy around Facebook, he's consistently been on Time's 100 list, which shows he's still a major influence on technology and how we communicate.
He's definitely a figure who people admire and criticize, but there's no denying he's had a huge impact. All right, moving on to someone who built an empire using her personal brand, Oprah Winfrey. News anchor, talk show queen, media mogul. What a journey. What do you think is the secret to her lasting success?
Oprah's story is all about defying the odds. She grew up poor but rose to become, some would say, the most influential woman in the world back in 2007. Her ventures, from Harpo Productions to the OWN network, show she's an amazing businesswoman and she can connect with people on a really personal level.
Yeah, it's like she built her empire on being genuine and vulnerable, which is pretty impressive in a world that often feels so fake. Speaking of connecting with audiences, let's talk about Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
This guy is a pop star with a truly global fan base, and his rise to fame started on YouTube. It shows how powerful the internet can be in creating stars. I mean,
Yeah.
what other industry lets you go from posting homemade videos to selling out stadiums all over the world?
Bieber's early success was like, wow, just incredible. His first album, back in 2009, sold 137,000 copies in 1 week. It shows the crazy power of things going viral online and how quickly fame can spread in the digital age.
It's like the internet has become this, like, super highway to fame, for better or worse.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about another music powerhouse, Ariana Grande. She's won a ton of awards, even holds Guinness World Records. It's amazing how much music she's put out there. Is that the key to staying famous these days? Just constantly creating new stuff?
It's definitely one way to stay relevant in the music world, which moves so fast. Grande's dedication to her craft and all that new music she puts out, it keeps her in the spotlight at the top of the charts.
She's a total force of nature in the music world. Now let's look at a different kind of leader. Narendra Modi. He's the Prime Minister of India, and he's known globally for his leadership. It's amazing to think that he started out selling tea and then rose through the ranks of politics. Another beating the odds story, wouldn't you say?
Totally. Modi's story really connects with people who admire resilience and determination. And the fact that he's been so successful in promoting India globally and attracting investment shows how political fame can have a real impact on a country's economy.
He's a great example of how personal ambition and national progress can kind of go hand in hand. Okay, back to sports, but with a twist this time. LeBron James is going beyond basketball with all his endorsements and business deals. He's building an empire that reaches way past the court.
James has become a brand, really. Remember when he signed that groundbreaking lifetime deal with Nike? That was a huge moment, showing how athletes can use their talent and influence to build incredible businesses.
He's taken athletic success and turned it into a platform for success in so many other areas. All right, let's talk about someone else who's a master of reinvention, Will Smith. He's gone from being the Fresh Prince rapper to an A-list actor. Talk about versatility. What do you think is the key to staying relevant for so long like he has?
Smith's career shows how talented he is and how well he can adapt. He's had huge box office hits, A&D, critical acclaim, even getting nominated for Oscars. That balance of being popular, A&D, respected for your art is hard to achieve.
Yeah, he seems to get that staying power in Hollywood means you got to keep evolving, not just rely on what you've already done. Okay, let's talk about someone who's become like the face of reality TV, Kim Kardashian. She's made the jump from reality star to a really smart businesswoman, constantly changing her image and her brand.
Kardashian's story is interesting because she took her initial fame, which, let's be honest, came from controversy, and turned it into this lasting empire. She's built successful makeup and fashion lines, and she's even gotten involved in advocacy work.
She's definitely a master of taking attention and turning it into opportunity. And lastly, let's talk about a music icon who's known for constantly reinventing herself, Taylor Swift. She's gone from country to pop to indie, always pushing boundaries. Do you think that willingness to experiment is what keeps her at the top of the music industry?
Swift's constant evolution is definitely key to why she stayed so popular. Her decision to re-record her old albums after that master's dispute show that she's dedicated to controlling her art and that she has a strong connection with her fans.
She's a true artist, always in control of her story and her creative vision. Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's one last and pretty interesting entry on GK School's list that I gotta mention. They included Jesus Christ. What do you make of that?
Putting him on the list really broadens our conversation about fame beyond just living people. It makes us acknowledge how much impact historical and religious figures have had, impact that lasts for centuries. Jesus is described as both human and divine, which suggests a kind of fame that goes beyond anything earthly.
Yeah, it's like a whole other category of fame, one that goes beyond time and individual achievement. We've looked at fame through so many lenses today: wealth, talent, influence, notoriety, and now even divinity.
And what we've learned is that fame is complicated, and it's always changing, especially in our interconnected world. We'll keep exploring these different sides of fame in the next part of this deep dive, so stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into fame. Before we, jump into some more fascinating figures, I think it's worth thinking about what we've learned so far. It seems like fame isn't really about one single definition, but more about how achievement and influence work together, and how someone can really capture the public's imagination.
That's so true. And looking back at the people we've talked about, one thing that's really striking is how many of them had to overcome some serious challenges to become as famous as they are. We talked about Oprah's journey from poverty, Narendra Modi going from selling tea to leading a whole nation, and Robert Downey Jr.'s amazing comeback from addiction. It almost feels like overcoming adversity, it's like a key ingredient in certain types of fame, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a story that people really connect with. These rags to riches stories. They tap into that desire we have for inspiration. They show us that anything's possible if you're willing to work hard and never give up. They challenge this idea that fame and success are only for people who are born with privilege, you know?
Totally. It's like the modern version of those old myths and fairy tales, except these are real people with real struggles and triumphs. And speaking of modern times, another thing that keeps coming up is the huge impact of social media and the internet on fame. Justin Bieber being discovered on YouTube, Neymar's massive online following, Mark Zuckerberg and his whole metaverse vision. It all points to how technology is totally changing how we define fame and how we achieve it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The internet has, like, democratized fame in a way. It's created new ways for people to become recognized without having to go through the traditional channels like record labels and talent agencies. Now, anyone with a smartphone and an internet connection can potentially reach a global audience.
It's like the playing field has been leveled, but the game has completely changed too.
Right.
Because even though the internet's made it easier to become famous, it's also made it way more fleeting, more temporary. Viral moments, they disappear so quickly. And if you want to keep that attention, you have to be constantly engaging and adapting.
For sure, it's a double-edged sword. There's so much pressure to stay relevant and keep the attention of online audiences, which is getting harder and harder.
It's like you're always fighting for a spot in this endless stream of information, you know? Another thing that's caught my eye is how many of these famous people are using their fame to do more than just what they're initially known for. LeBron James with his business ventures, Oprah with her network, Will Smith with his YouTube channel. It's like they're building these empires that go way beyond what initially made them famous.
Yeah, fame can be this really powerful tool for reaching more people and becoming more influential. It opens doors to opportunities that they might not have had otherwise. These people are using their platforms to start businesses, support causes they care about, and connect with their audiences in new ways. It's a smart way to use their fame and make the most of it.
It's like they're not just settling for being famous, they're using their fame to build something bigger and leave a real impact. Okay, let's talk about the link between fame and wealth. We've mentioned a lot of billionaires: Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. Does being super wealthy automatically lead to fame, or is it the other way around? What do you think?
It's kind of like a chicken or the egg situation, you know? Sometimes wealth is just a result of fame. Celebrities use their recognition to get those big endorsement deals, make smart investments, and start successful businesses. But then wealth can also be what makes someone famous. Look at people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. They've become really well known because of their philanthropy, because they're using their fortunes to tackle global problems.
So, wealth and fame, they kind of feed into each other, creating this cycle of influence and opportunity. And speaking of philanthropy, it's interesting how many of these famous people are involved in giving back. Bill Gates with his foundation, Cristiano Ronaldo's charitable donations, even Dwayne Johnson supporting different causes. Do you think using fame for good actually makes someone's reputation better and potentially even more famous?
I think it definitely adds a positive side to their public image. Philanthropy lines up with those basic values of compassion and generosity that we all share. When famous people use their platforms to support important causes, it can inspire others to get involved and make a difference. It makes them seem more human, more relatable, and more likable.
For sure. It's like they're showing everyone that fame isn't just about promoting yourself or getting rich. It's about using your influence to do some good in the world. Okay, another thing we've learned is that fame is really subjective, and it's always changing. What made someone super famous 10 years ago might not mean the same thing today.
Exactly. The things we use to measure fame are constantly shifting, and that's influenced by cultural trends, new technology, even the political climate. And social media has played a huge role in how fame has evolved, creating new ways for people to get recognized and giving a voice to people who might not have had one before.
It's like the whole concept of fame is always changing, and it's hard to keep up. And another thing that's become clear is how global fame is now. We've talked about people from all over the world: Cristiano Ronaldo from Portugal, Neymar from Brazil, Narendra Modi from India. It seems like fame can spread across borders now more than ever before.
Yeah, the internet and social media have connected us in ways we couldn't have imagined before. It's like we're living in a global village where information, ideas, and even fame can travel across borders super fast. Language barriers are becoming less of a problem, and people from different cultures can find global audiences for their talents and accomplishments.
It's like the whole world has become a smaller stage, but with a much bigger audience. Okay, before we move on to the last part of our deep dive, I want to talk about something that I think is really important to think about. We've explored all these different paths to fame, the ups and downs, the relationship between fame and wealth, and the impact of technology. But what about the personal cost of fame?
That's a really important question, and it's one that we often forget about. Fame comes with a price. You have the media and the public constantly watching you, invading your privacy, the pressure to keep up a certain image, and the possibility of being taken advantage of. Those are just some of the things that come with living your life in the public eye. It's a double-edged sword that you have to be careful with and have a good support system to handle.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope, trying to balance the good things about fame with the potential downsides. It reminds us that fame isn't always glamorous or easy. It's complicated and has both positive and negative sides.
Exactly. And in the last part of our deep dive, we're going to look at some different perspectives on fame, explore the psychology behind why we're so obsessed with celebrities, and try to imagine what the future holds for this idea of fame, which is always changing.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We've spent this whole episode looking at these world-famous people, from athletes and entertainers to billionaires and even, well, a religious figure. It's been wild seeing all the different ways fame can look, but now I'm thinking, what about the people who do amazing things but maybe aren't, like household names? Is there a different kind of fame, one that's less about being in the spotlight and more about having a lasting impact, even if it's quiet?
That's a great question. That's where we get into like the unsung heroes, the people who change things behind the scenes. Think about scientists making these huge discoveries, activists fighting for social justice, artists creating masterpieces that maybe won't be recognized until after they're gone, their fame. Or maybe it's better to call it legacy. It might come later or be appreciated by fewer people, but what they do is still super important.
Yeah, it's like their work makes these ripples that spread out, even if their name isn't on it, you know? Kind of like what GK schools did by including Jesus Christ on their list. No matter what you personally believe, there's no denying the impact he had on history and culture, and it's lasted for like thousands of years. Does that suggest a whole different level of fame?
It definitely says something about the power of ideas and how they can shape whole civilizations. And in this case, it's tied in with faith and spirituality, reaching a level of fame that goes way beyond what any one person can achieve. It's more about a message or a movement that keeps resonating with people across generations.
It's like reaching a level of influence that's bigger than any one person, which makes me think, why are we so obsessed with celebrities in the first place? Is it just for entertainment, or is there something deeper going on?
There are a ton of theories out there, but one that makes sense to me is that we're kind of programmed to learn from others. Like way back in human history, paying attention to the people who were really skilled or powerful or successful, it helped us survive. And now, with media everywhere, that instinct might be focused on celebrities. We watch their lives, their clothes, their relationships, maybe hoping to pick up some secret to success or happiness.
So it's like our ancient brains trying to make sense of fame in the modern world. But with all these social media influencers popping up everywhere, is the whole idea of being a celebrity getting kind of watered down? Everyone's trying to get attention, to go viral. Does it even mean the same thing anymore?
It's definitely changed how the game is played. Fame feels easier to get now, but it also doesn't last as long. We're constantly seeing new images, new stories, so it's harder for anyone to really stand out and hold our attention for long. The challenge now isn't just becoming famous. It's staying famous in this world where everyone's creating content all the time.
It's like everyone's fighting for this limited amount of attention, and the rules keep changing. Thinking about that, it makes me think about some of the people we've discussed, like Taylor Swift or Elon Musk. They seem to really get how to play this new game, using their platforms to control their own stories and connect with their fans directly.
Yeah, they've basically become their own media companies,
Mm-hmm.
going around the traditional ways of doing things and building these super dedicated, loyal fan bases. That entrepreneurial approach to fame might be the key to having real, lasting influence in the 21st century. It's not enough to be talented or successful anymore. You got to be good at promoting yourself and creating content too.
So it's like fame has become its own job, with its own strategies and demands. But this makes me wonder, with all the challenges and pressure that come with fame, Is it even something people should want anymore? Is it worth the potential cost?
That's something each person has to figure out for themselves. For some, the appeal of being recognized, having influence, being able to make a difference, it outweighs the bad stuff. For others, the price of fame is just too high. It depends on what you value and what's important to you.
Yeah, good point. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to fame. What one person sees as a dream come true, someone else might see as a nightmare.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole exploration of fame so interesting. It's this mix of personal ambition, what our culture values, and how we connect and communicate, which is always changing.
I agree. This deep dive has been really eye-opening, so much to think about. We started with a simple list of famous people, but we ended up talking about history, psychology, technology, even spirituality.
What I've realized is that fame is this idea that's always evolving, shaped by things we can control and things we can't. It reflects what we value, what we want, and even our fears. And in the end, it's up to each of us to decide what kind of fame, if any, we want to go after.
Well said. That's a perfect way to wrap things up. We've covered a ton of ground today, but I want to leave you with one final thought. In this world that's constantly changing, what does it really mean to be famous? What qualities or achievements do why you think will last, even as times change? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of fame. It's been fascinating and sometimes, yeah, a little confusing too.